You know, when you think about it, secret societies, the words themselves conjure up these images, right? Candlelit rooms, whispered meetings, grand conspiracies. They've always captured our imagination. They're this incredible mix of myth and, well, actual history. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and take a peek at what's really going on in the shadows. So let's just get right to it. Why? Why are we so completely obsessed with this stuff? What is it about these hidden groups that just pulls us in? Is it about power? The thrill of knowing something nobody else does? Or, is it something deeper? Something about us just trying to find some meaning when the world feels totally out of control. And boom, that's really the heart of it, isn't it? They promise these three things: forbidden knowledge, a sense of belonging to an elite club, and maybe most importantly, this: illusion of control. Because let's face it, the world can feel pretty chaotic. And the idea that someone, somewhere, is actually pulling the strings, well, that can be weirdly comforting. It suggests there's a plan, a sense of order, even if it's not real. All right, so let's get into the big players. We're going to take a quick tour through three of the most famous and honestly most misunderstood archetypes of the shadows. And we're going to try to untangle the crazy myths from what really happened. First up, the Freemasons. The myth? Oh, they're the secret rulers of the world. But the reality is, well, it's a lot more interesting. They didn't start as some power-hungry cabal. They actually started as guilds for, you guessed it, stonemasons. But over time, they turned into these kinds of philosophical clubs. And in the 18th century, their lodges became these amazing safe spaces, these laboratories of democracy, where guys like George Washington and Benjamin Franklin could debate the radical Enlightenment ideas that would literally build America. Okay, now for the big one, the Illuminati. The myth is just massive, right? Immortal celebrities, a global conspiracy that's been running for centuries. The reality, so much smaller. They were founded in 1776, same year as the US, by a Bavarian professor. And really, they were just a small group of Enlightenment thinkers who wanted to push back against the power of the church and the state. The whole thing was banned and shut down in less than 10 years. But man, did their legend take on a life of its own. And then there are the Thuggees. Now, this story is complicated. The myth is of this huge pan-Indian death cult. The reality? Well, there were definitely gangs of highway robbers in India, but a lot of modern historians now argue that the British, back in the 1830s, blew the whole thing way, way out of proportion. They created this ghost story, painting them as this monstrous evil. And why? Well, it was a pretty convenient excuse to justify a much more aggressive colonial police force and tighten their control. Okay, so we've looked at a few examples, the myths, the realities, but that brings us to the big question: why? What actually drives people to create these hidden groups to begin with? It's usually not about taking over the worlds. It's about something way more basic, something wired right into our psychology. It really comes down to this idea of in-group versus out-group. The sociologist George Simmel had this brilliant take on it. He said the real power isn't even in the secret itself, it's in the act of keeping it. Sharing that secret creates this powerful, invisible wall between us on the inside and them on the outside. And that feeling, that shared bond, is stronger than any public promise you could ever make. So you can actually break it down into a kind of recipe. Step 1. You tap into that fundamental human need to belong. We all want to be part of something. Step 2. You use the power of initiation. Think about it. The harder it is to get into a club, the more you value your membership once you're in. And step 3, the final ingredient, you create the bond of a shared secret. That's what seals the whole thing together. Now, it's easy to think of all this as ancient history, right? Relics from another time. But it's not. The DNA of these secret societies, the way they're structured, is all around us today. It's shaping everything from politics and pop culture to the very technology we use every single day. I mean, just look at the Illuminati's wild journey. Founded in 1776, right? Banned and gone by 1785. They should have just been a footnote in a history book. But then, in the 1800s, they got resurrected in fiction and conspiracy theories. And fast forward to today, they're a full-blown pop culture meme. The go-to symbol for any hidden cabal you can imagine. And this is how it happens. Take the Eye of Providence on the US dollar bill. Originally, it was a pretty standard Christian symbol for God watching over humanity. Simple enough. But now, for a ton of people, it's seen as the Masonic Illuminati symbol of control. It's the perfect example of how a symbol can be totally reinterpreted to feed this modern distrust of, well, just about every institution.
And if you think this stuff doesn't exist anymore, you're just not looking in the right places. The structure has just gone digital. The secret lodge? It's now a private Discord server or a closed Facebook group. The cryptic rituals we don't understand? Well, what about the algorithm that decides what you see and think? And the hidden handshakes? They're now encrypted messaging channels. The names and the tech have changed, but the basic idea? It's exactly the same. Okay, so let's try to reach a verdict here. Are secret societies a force for good, or just a shield for the corrupt? The truth is, they're neither, because secrecy itself isn't good or evil. It's a tool. And just like any tool, it can be used to build things up or to tear them down.
Let's look at the two extremes. On the plus side, you've got the benefits. They create powerful communities, they can be spaces for free thought, and they do incredible charity work, like the Shriners Hospitals, which are run by a Masonic group. But then there's the dark side. The dangers are real: corruption, paranoia, elitism. A perfect example is the P2 Masonic Lodge scandal in Italy, which was basically a secret shadow government tied to all sorts of crime and corruption. Which leaves us with one last question to chew on. In our world, a world that seems to demand total transparency about everything, do we still need the shadows? Maybe our obsession isn't just about conspiracies. Maybe we're drawn to these mysteries because they hint that the world is more interesting, more designed than it sometimes feels. It makes you wonder. In an age where everything is tracked and recorded, is a world with no secrets at all what we really want?